Welcome to this session. We are talking all about the personal and lived experiences of participating in clinical trials. Today, I am joined by one of our community members, Janet Steins, and I am just thrilled to have this opportunity to really kind of take some of the mystery out of what we've been kind of experiencing over this last year. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about who you are, where you are.
I'm Janet Steins, of course, and I live in Northwest Missouri, and I have Sjogren's, and I've been diagnosed since 2021 of April. And I have a great rheumatologist that I have found. I love her. And that's how I got into this clinical trial, because of her.
I think everyone is going to ask you, especially anywhere within probably a 6-hour drive, who that doc is, and how they can contact her, or him or her.
It's Dr. Tina Shaw. She's out of Kansas City. She works with St. Luke's Hospital, and she's an hour away from me. So it's a really, good drive for me to see her. I mean, she's great. She's a great doctor, and she is actually my doctor for the trial too.
Awesome. So really our whole goal today in you and I talking, and we've kind of had some conversations behind the scenes, but was really to offer a bit of a more candid look at clinical trials. I think before I went through my medical education and even through that, like there's kind of this I don't know, it's like clinical trials, like glow and kind of mystery and what is it all about? And it just seems kind of foreign and scary.
Yeah. When she approached me about it and she told me that, Janet, you're probably my number one candidate for this trial, for the Dazodalibep, because you have the dry eyes, you have the dry mouth, you have the glands, your parotid glands. And she said that she really wanted me to try this trial. She told me to go home and think about it. So you know what I did? I went home and dive into the trial. And I looked into everything and I thought, what do I have to lose? I mean, I can't take hydroxychloroquine from the side effects. And I've tried all these drugs, the methotrexate and all that. And I don't know. I just felt like there's got to be something else.
Yeah. As you were kind of going through that thought process and doing that research, were there any particular resources that you found helpful in kind of answering some of those questions?
I did, because they've already done some of the study before. So, I mean, I think 1 and 2, I'm in study 3. I'm thinking you are too. And when I seen how I kind of went back and I looked, I thought, wow, they're having some results with this drug. And I thought, I hate to say I'm 57 now, but I was sitting there going, I'm 57. And if I could help someone else even to deal with this, because no one understands Sjogren's. I don't think I don't know. I've been told it's a sister disease of lupus. There's not much research on Sjogren's, and seeing that we're doing research, I was very interested in it.
Yeah. It's the most common autoimmune disease that no one's heard about.
Exactly. And then you sit there and you're like, and my doctor, she treats, I think there's 3 or 4 of us patients in her area that she treats that has Sjogren's. There's 2 of us that are in the trial. I've met the lady. We were doing our trials at the same time, our infusions. So I met her. She has a lot of medical issues, though, a lot of other medical issues than like I have. I think she'd had cancer. So that probably, from the treatments of cancer, brought on her Sjogren's.
Yeah. And we can talk about some of the logistics, but sometimes there are certain aspects of our medical history or our lived experience that might prevent us from being able to participate.
I went through a rabbit hole on that too, and I think you did too. So I was so excited about getting this trial, and my doctor would email me, okay, we haven't heard yet when they're going to start testing. And then finally last year in April, I went and did all my blood work and stuff, and I had a false positive TB test.
Oh, gosh.
So they kicked me out of the trial. My doctor knew I did not have this. So she advocated for me. I went to her doctor's office, took the TB test, paid it out of my pocket to prove that I did not have TB. She fought them for 2 months to get me back in the trial. Finally, they opened up that second arm of the test.
Yeah.
And they said, go ahead and retest her. They said they would let me retest. Passed it with flying colors. No problems, no nothing. Had everything that I was supposed to have to be in the trial. So then in August, I started the trial. So last August. And the first infusion I got that day, I really didn't think, oh, I probably got the placebo. You think that way. Mm-hmm. I got home that night after I got home, because
it's a long day.
It's a long day. I'm sitting in here and I look at my husband and I said, I have saliva. I have saliva. I can spit. I never knew what it was like.
What is this magic?
And then my energy started coming back eventually. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I'm getting the drug.
I want to go back for a second and go back through a little bit more about kind of what that screening and enrollment process looks like, because I think, there's that can be, so typically kind of that first step essentially is you can reach out to the study, like the study site coordinator, and there's multiple ways to kind of connect with that person, either through clinicaltrials.gov or I know the Sjogren's Foundation has had a lot of kind of newsletters and lists for people who are interested that want to be contacted. But I'm curious to kind of like walk through those initial contacts with your study site. And it sounds like you learned through your physician, which is the other really common
and she is my study doctor.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice because we talked the other day, you don't get to see your study doctor. I see my study doctor because she is my doctor too every month. And and she spends time with me and talks to me. And I feel so grateful to have her as my rheumatologist. But honestly, when they called me, this coordinator called me and wanted this process to do the testing. So I did the testing. Then I failed. So then I was very, very depressed. And my doctor advocated. She'd email me and say, I am fighting this. I want you to know, because I know this is going to help you, and you're a number one candidate. Out of all my patients, you're my number one. She more or less told me. So she fought for me and got me in, and I had to do the testing all over. It's a long process. And I was actually leaving for vacation the very next day.
Well, this sounds familiar. I had a similar situation. Yeah.
And we were so my husband and I decided, okay, we'll drive down to the doctor's and we'll just stay in a hotel and we'll get on the plane the next day and go on our vacation. That was our plan. And we did. We went and I spent the day. He sat in the car. He didn't want to go in. I said, we can go do something. I'm going to be here for a while, because the first one took I actually went in 2 sessions the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And this time I just said, let's get it all done because I'm leaving. I'm flying out in the morning at 6 o'clock. Long story, I didn't get to fly out till 3 in the afternoon, but because our plane had mechanical problems.
Oh, gosh.
And so anyways, they did the testing and I was doing all that you have to do on your phone.
Yeah.
When you first get it, you have to fill out these surveys. Yeah, every day for 30 days or whenever you come back to get your infusion. So I went to Alaska. And
oh, gosh.
So I said, I pray that I have service. Which we're going to ship for part of it. And then we were traveling for the last part of our trip. So I'm like, okay, boy, I'm okay on the ship. I have service. I can do my survey. And I told the coordinator, I said, what if I miss a day or two?
Yeah.
Will I be in trouble?
Yeah.
And she says, I'm going to explain it to them. You're on your vacation and everything worked out. We had internet in the lodges we stayed at. So at the end of the day, I could stop, fill out my survey and go on.
That's helpful. There were a couple days where I was like, woke up in a cold sweat at 11 at night. Oh gosh, I forgot to fill it out. I gotta fill it out real quick.
Yes, because you have to fill it out by midnight every day,
Reset.
So,
and it's a pretty quick survey, although I will say the app is a little bit sluggish, but
it's very slow. And it's slower now than it was before.
Yeah, and essentially it's having you rate on a scale of like how bothersome are your symptoms and which are the most bothersome between the dryness and in particular, but also rating your energy and your pain too.
And your fatigue. But yeah, I mean, it's really easy to go do. I mean, it's just the habit of getting into going every month. And when I explained to you how I felt on my monthly deals, there'd be sometimes I don't think I'm getting anything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I didn't have the
same effect or
yes. So I'm sitting there thinking, I think I'm in the trial where you get the higher dose.
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact, but
that's your
that's my assumption of it.
Yeah. And so I'll kind of add a little bit of kind of background, at least. So Janet and I are both in the same trial, which is the Oasiz trial for Dazodalibep. There are at least 3 trials, 3 medications that are under investigation right now and in like pretty advanced trials. So the one that we're in, there's also one for Nipocalimab. And then there also is one additional medication that works very similarly to the Nipocalimab. And I always have trouble pronouncing it, but it's efgartigimod, which is a medication that is already approved for myasthenia gravis. And now it's being studied in Sjogren's. And it's interesting because Nipocalimab, they kind of like did a reverse. So both of those medications likely have some potential in treating both of those conditions. But when there are clinical trials, there typically are 3 phases. Phase 1 is really about safety. And it's a small group of people and actually tends to be sometimes even folks that don't necessarily have the disease. They're really just making sure the medication is safe in humans. And then phase 2 is going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be looking to see, okay, is it effective? What dose is effective? And then phase 3, which is the phase that Janet and I have both participated in, it's a larger group of people, but they do have these guardrails around what that group of people look like in regards to their symptoms, their labs, how the disease is showing up in those people, because the closer that they have less variability in what those people look like, and I use, of course, look very broadly, but the disease itself looks like, the better data they're able to gather on how helpful this medication is. And I know we've kind of been privy to some conversations in the Facebook group and other support groups that, gosh, it's really frustrating if you're someone who's seronegative. And I totally understand that. And also, the doc and scientist in me is like, I understand also why the folks that are designing the study, these initial studies, are kind of forced to make these decisions because it's quote unquote cleaner for the data, so that when they go up for approval from the FDA, that there's a better likelihood that it'll meet those benchmarks.
And actually will pass the FDA.
Yeah. So it's like rock in a hard place and right here. And when we went through that enrollment, part of it was filling out all those surveys, but also had probably a dozen plus tubes of blood drawn for various things for tuberculosis and other issues. I had a chest x-ray, EKG. They periodically will check how much saliva you make. So salivary flow test. And then my least favorite part, I don't know what your least favorite part is, but my least favorite part is the Schirmer's test, which they've repeated a couple times.
I actually quit doing that one. I signed off not to do it because it hurts so. I was so miserable.
Yeah, it's really miserable.
And But other than that, I'm participating in everything else of the trial.
The other part that we don't have to venture into too much, that I was just like, when I saw the potential. So there's another optional piece. So the Schirmer's test is kind of an optional piece. Another optional piece is doing some additional surveys on sexual health and function.
Yes.
In part, my suspicion is that when they were doing those phase 1 and phase 2 trials, that there were conversations about Sjogren's is a systemic disease. It causes dryness everywhere. And that they were seeing some signals or hearing some things that, oh gosh, maybe these symptoms are getting better.
Exactly.
And so they're gathering some data on that. And I'm just going to be really fascinated to see and hear what that shows too.
Exactly. Because like I told you, wow, where'd that come from? I wasn't expecting.
I didn't want to put you on the spot of necessarily, if you didn't feel comfortable sharing anything. But it was very like, okay, that makes sense.
And it does make sense, honestly. And I told you that I went off all my meds pretty much. And I was on methotrexate. I was on gabapentin, but gabapentin and I did not do well together. Because the side effects we talked about how Sjogren's patients with medication, the side effects from them
are sometimes worse than the improvement.
Yes. Yeah. And when I went off the methotrexate, it was like in February, I had a real bad sinus infection. I had sores in my mouth. So my doctor said it could be from the methotrexate. We do not know. I was on a low dose. I'd been on it for 3 years, 2 years, 2.5 years. And I told her, she goes, let's just stop it. And I said, okay, I won't argue. And she goes, if you start hurting, you know how to start back on it. You start low dose and go up to what your dose is. And I said, okay. So I went off of it. I have no joint pain because they check your joint pain. They check your hands, your knees. They check. And I have no signs I didn't have any stiffness. I do have a little stiffness now of a morning when I first get up, but not like before. Before I was diagnosed, I could hardly walk.
Oh, gosh.
Because I was so stiff and sore.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe when I went to her and she told me, in the doctor's office that day, the first time I seen her, she looked in my history and she goes, I'm 99% sure you have Sjogren's, but let's do the blood work.
Wow.
3 days later, I get the call. You have Sjogren's.
Bing, bing, bing.
And I'm like, okay.
What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what is that?
What does that mean?
Yeah. And
as you think about like those visits, so primarily monthly visits and all that's involved in the trial, how much time would you estimate are you like, is it taking out of your life? Like
it really
investing in your life. I don't know.
Actually, it's investing in my life. I feel because I feel better. I'm glad I did this trial. And I mean, you know more about how it works with the T cells and the B cells because you're the doctor, how they're lowering our T cells. Because our T cells are attacking our body is more or less is what they say.
Yeah, essentially kind of disrupting that conversation between the T and the B cells. Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to hear from you, though. Do you feel like you've had any more infections than a typical year? Or any kind of, because that was kind of my initial worry. I've taken care of a few patients who actually have it's called a primary immune deficiency. So an immune deficiency issue that is related to the receptor that this drug that we're getting works through. And they're pretty sick patients. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to mess with that. That was my initial impression with that. But then looking at the phase 2 data, the results, it's kind of like the usual things: upper respiratory infection, headache, tummy upset.
Well, I don't know about you.
I'm
now seeing you for my allergies. Which we talked about.
You can say that. I can't volunteer that information.
I know, but But I have always had allergies and sinuses problems.
Yeah.
And you look at Sjogren's and how many patients have sinus problems. It's drying you out and you don't realize, you just don't realize.
Yeah. In addition to that, the medications that we tend to use to treat, like those add to the dryness. And so again, you're stuck between this rock and a hard place, and there's not much wiggle room in between.
No. And I have noticed too, since I've gotten off all my medication except the trial, my saliva is so much better because this one drug that I just got off and I told you about, and I didn't realize the side effects. It dries you out. You don't think of this. You don't.
But it's not something that necessarily is the first thing that comes to mind as like a prescriber too. Like obviously now I think of it with everything, but it's.
I do too now. I'm like, okay, do you want to add this medication to me? Wait, what does it do to Sjogren patients?
Yeah. And I think we're in a similar circumstance. I have to drive about an hour and 10 minutes, like to get to my study site too. And then the particular med that we're getting is a 90-minute infusion. And then typically there is a little bit of buffer time kind of on the front end and the back end as they're like doing labs, getting your IV in, and then making sure you're okay after your infusion.
Yeah, like a 30-minute wait afterwards.
Yeah.
But
so I typically block out on those days for me from usually leave the house around 8-ish. And then I usually get home around 2 or 3, just depending on how, like each visit's a little different. Occasionally you'll have to go fasting. That's like once a quarter or so. And every once in a while, there'll be a little more lab work or the joint count or those sorts of things. So for me, I tend to block out that day from like a work day standpoint.
That's kind of what I do. I just, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm I work from home with my husband's business. So I can do whatever I want more. I have that freedom where I can just say, okay, you need me this date, I will be there.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing I was going to mention, just we have a limited experience in that we're in the same trial. My understanding is Nipocalimab is also an infusion. I admittedly, I should have looked this up before we sat down to record. I don't know how long that infusion is. So that's a good question.
Yeah.
The other medication that is under trial, the Efgartigimod, is interestingly, it's an injection. And I had a conversation with one of the pharmacists involved with that trial. And it's going to take a little bit longer for that drug to go through the process because they kind of went for the myasthenia research first. But one of the differences between it and the other two medications is that you actually do that trial drug at home after you learn how to do it. And so that's kind of an interesting and helpful for those that maybe don't have the flexibility that you and I have.
Right.
They might still want to have some ability to try one of the newer treatments, maybe don't tolerate other ones. I will say one of the critiques I kind of shared with him was, at least per my initial look at those criteria we talked about that say, do you qualify, do you not qualify? They're called inclusion and exclusion criteria. So you have to check the boxes that you qualify, but you also have to check the boxes that you don't have anything that will disqualify you.
Exactly.
And I have to say for that trial, to me, it looked a little more stringent than the other two trials. That being said, there certainly are folks who are enrolling. It's just, again, you have to realize that that's part of the clinical trials process. And yes, it's frustrating, but hopefully in the end, they'll be able to loosen up kind of.
Also, if you're questioning about a trial, should I do this or not? For me, it was like, go for it. Because I'm not only going to try to help myself, I'm going to help others and show them if it works.
Yeah. Did you have any little fears or voices that you had to think about or think through as you were going through that decision-making process?
Really not, because I have such a good doctor that I had my trust with her. And I mean, she knows me very well with the stuff and with all the medications and all the problems I've had. And I really feel that I have her personal phone number. Not many doctors give you your personal phone number.
No, we tend to be a little bit.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you because you have a life too. But after going through all this process and she's seeing how after, I was so excited about it and then I got kicked out of the trial, then I was really depressed about it. And she would text me, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Not many doctors have time to do that. And she's a very busy doctor. I mean, she sees, I don't know how many patients a day. Every 15 minutes, she's on that. She's on that.
She's on the treadmill.
Yeah, she's on the treadmill.
I had to hop off of. I'd be curious if being in the trial changed your view of your own health in any way, or any ways that you didn't necessarily expect.
I honestly really thought, oh, this is not good. I've got this disease. There's nothing out there for me to help me other than the medications that they give for. It's more, they don't know enough about Sjogren's and it needs to be pushed. And I thank God for you because you're pushing and you're advocating it and it needs to be out there more. People don't understand.
Agree. Again, one of the most common autoimmune conditions that no one has heard of. And frankly, I truly believe that there are aspects of the disease that I learned about to pass my boards that essentially created something called anchor bias. So you have kind of this preconceived notion about what Sjogren's looks like, and that clouds your ability to see things that don't fit exactly that box.
Right.
And so in hindsight, look back and I'm like, oh gosh, I had an episode of my parotid glands getting inflamed and a salivary gland that got clogged at the end of college. And right before I went off to med school. So I was 21, 22, somewhere in there.
I think in 1999, I had a saliva gland removed.
Uh-huh.
They never had a clue.
Yeah, all these little breadcrumbs that now I'm like,
yes.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. It all is coming to us now.
Yeah.
And another thing is when I went to Dr. Shaw, she said it's hereditary too. It can be hereditary. My mom, I know she had it. She had the cough. She always had the eye problems, the swelling, and she had the parotid swelling. Never would have thought of it. But, and I look back and I thought, wow, my mom had this and didn't even know she had it.
It's interesting, this new light. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm like, I know she had it and the only way when we were kids, we would take, before the world got crazy and you can't let your kids go to the next aisle by themselves, we would go off and shop by ourselves. And to find my mom, we'd just listen for her cough. So we knew where our mom was, And so I sat there and I think, wow, she had to have this, but no one knew anything really back then.
Frankly, a lot has changed for good and also maybe not always for good. We have some incredible diagnostic tools now. We have, at my fingertips, I have actually a tab open of this newer resource called Open Evidence that essentially uses all of the medical journals and it connects it with AI. So I can look up, it's like Encyclopedia Britannica for medical things. And I can look up whatever and figure out a nice summary of the data that we have and then all the references that were used to create that summary. The docs that were taking care of your mom, they would have had to go to the medical library, microfiche, all that stuff, right?
We had a family doctor that smoked a cigar when you walked in. You loved it. So, you felt like you were going to a worse doctor.
No, I know.
So it's kind of funny in a way. How medical, it's changed.
It has changed. Along with that, though, we've lost some things because that doc with his cigar, probably a little more paternalistic, didn't have access to all of the diagnostics.
And he had a library of books.
Yeah, but he also, I'm sure, had a lot more confidence in his ability to clinically diagnose something, meaning talking to you, getting that story, doing the physical exam with a lot more nuance than we do now, and trusting that those skills and that history and things were great. And unfortunately, what's kind of happened, both for clinicians and I think as patients too, is we really love things that are in black and white. We really love seeing those lab reports, the pathology, anything that says, yes, this is what you have, no question, this is it. And that's helpful if you're SSA positive.
Yes.
It's not if you're seronegative and or your lip biopsy is not a great specimen. And I think as clinicians, we just don't get those reps in and that practice in having to make those diagnoses without these tools that are like everyday practice.
Right. I mean, how do you know? Like I have friends that have Sjogren's, but their tests are negative and they can't get into our trial unless they open another arm up and say, hey, let's these people come get in this trial.
If you're listening to us, pharma, we want some seronegative trials.
Yes.
Please,
and help our friends that have it.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that this trial has been a lifesaver for me in feeling better, having saliva in my mouth that I never knew I was missing. When I first took that test, you have to spit the very first time. I had no spit in that vial. Now I can almost make it to that first line.
Yeah. Have you had any change in like your dental checkups?
The dentist has noticed that I have a lot more saliva. And I mean, my teeth, I know I'm going to lose eventually someday because the disease. And I told the dentist the other day, I just went last week and I said, never knew what I was missing out on. I said, food even tastes better. The flavors of food with having more saliva in your mouth. I said, never even knew I didn't have enough saliva.
Yeah. For me, like I didn't appreciate it either. It was my dental hygienist who pointed it out during that first visit after I had Josie. And she's like, your mouth is really dry. And I was like, yeah, I do drink a lot of water. My eyes are dry. I was like, then I kind of put one and two together of what maybe was going on. But often it's not what we lead with when we go in to see our docs. Rarely.
And I used to wear contacts. I had that eye surgery done, the laser surgery. I could see. Now I can't do it. I can't wear contacts because my eyes are too dry. I even tried. I was like, I want to wear contacts. And he at that point, we didn't know I had Sjogren's. And he goes, well, you can try them. No.
I've been curious and I've contemplated the idea of like maybe circling back and trying them on occasion now that I do feel like my eyes have been less bothersome. I say that we've had the air on and I think I had a little cold that went through the house. So my eyes are a little bit grumpy at the moment, but there are some days that like, I'm like, I wonder if I would do okay with a daily here or there when I'm recording or just want to go out like for a date night or some of those things that I miss about having that flexibility.
I really miss not having to grab those things and put them on your face as soon as you get up.
I know. I just ordered some new frames at least. I'm like, let's get something fun and at least make the best of it. Is there anything, as you think back over this last year, a piece of advice that you would give someone if they're considering a clinical trial?
Don't second guess yourself. Just if you feel comfortable and you feel like, to me, at first, I was a little apprehensive, but like I said, I had a great doctor. She knew this was going to help me because she sat and explained it to me a little bit about it. She's kind of hard to understand, but so then I went home and deep dived into it. And I think, this trial is for me. And she's right. I think it's going to help me and help others. I was just lucky to have my doctor be my trial doctor too. Yeah.
It kind of helps take a little of the fear out of it too.
Yes. Yeah. Especially that first day and they come in with all that.
The stacks on consent.
And they're going to take 12 vials of blood.
I know. You're like, oh gosh, it's like a vampire.
I said, you going to leave me any
No, I'm like, I'm not going to feel guilty about eating some red meat. Like after, I try not to eat a ton of it, but not after those days.
I mean, I really think everybody should, if you get a chance, you're not only helping yourself in the future, or you're helping other people in the future.
Yeah. Is there any question you think that someone, like a question that everyone should ask before they say yes? Either the study folks themselves.
Don't be afraid of needles.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get poked.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's really not. I mean, I'm really glad I did the trial, and I'm glad. And I even got reached out to you because I knew you were taking it. You said you were, and I was like, what do I need to? And you kind of explained a little bit to me. And so the first day I went in to get the infusion, I was like, wow, my machine kept shutting off because of the air and the bubbles in my machine.
Yeah. It
And
kind of makes you go, what's
yeah, so
there?
it made me go, I think I'm getting some medication here. But, you know, you can't.
Yeah, you don't know. And even now,
Yeah, and they bring it in, and it's in a little black or brown
covered,
cover, so you're not supposed to know.
Yeah.
And this last time, it kept shutting off. And at first, I kind of had it figured out. Okay, 12 weeks. Okay, this is going to be it. This is it. But then when I had my sinus infection back in February, it threw me off on the dates that I was supposed to get it. And so I wasn't thinking this last month I was getting the meds. Yeah. And my machine kept shutting off. And I was like, oh, I'm getting the meds. That was my theory. Yeah. And then when I came home that afternoon, by 5 o'clock that evening, I had tons of saliva, and I said, I got the meds. We're
back in business.
Yes. So
I think one of the questions I've kind of shared publicly before, but the question I asked myself is like, how would I feel if I got the placebo? With all of these clinical trials, the gold standard for a clinical trial setup is something called double-blind placebo-controlled trial. And so that means that both us as patients and your doc and my doc that are like the trial study docs and all the people involved, like they don't know if we're getting real drug or sugar water.
The only one that knows is the one person that mixes it.
That mixes it up. And so as part of that, and how Oasiz is set up, is there are actually 3 groups of people. There's a group A, which is the one group that gets larger dose of medication. I might be getting A and B confused, but there's a group that gets a larger dose of medication less often, which is the one that you're suspicious that you kind of think that you might be in. There's another group, and it's equal numbers in each group. Another group that was getting a smaller dose more often, monthly. I'm pretty sure I was in that group. And then there's a group that was getting sugar water each time. And then at the end of that year, approximately year-long trial, there's something called open label extension, which is what we just went through. And essentially it's a little bit shorter process, but you re-enroll, and then that placebo arm is gone. And then the placebo people are redistributed into group A and group B, and everyone gets medication in one of those 2 ways. And so when we now know for sure that we've gotten True Med.
I go next.
You're going through that now.
I'm going through it now. So I go the 10th and I get all that. And then in August, I should get the meds, the real med. And either the end of August or the 1st of September, I should get the real med. I don't know if they're going to change it. We don't know.
I think they keep you in whatever group you're in. I think so. Okay. Laura, my study coordinator, and I were like looking through it, and we're pretty sure that that's the case.
Okay. I was told they didn't know what milligrams I would get for sure. Nice. I have a different study coordinator now. Actually, they're getting ready to hire a new one. I don't really have the study coordinator that I had to start with. And so it's hard because they're new. They don't know the process. Yeah. You know, and the other girl knew the process. It's
a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, it's just a learning curve. And they're trying to hire someone to be the study coordinator now. And that is a very hard job.
Yeah. Herding cats.
Yes.
The question I asked myself was like, after that year, if I got placebo, would it be worth it? Would it have been worth taking off a day a month, putting the miles on my car, all those things? And in my mind, the answer for me to that question was yes. I thought it would,
For me
because
too.
I knew now I would be getting.
You get a stipend. It's not much.
What, 50 some bucks a visit?
75 is what.
Oh, you're getting more than I am.
I get $75 stipend.
I gotta talk with them about that.
And I get mileage. You get mileage.
Maybe it's based on mileage, yeah.
And I mean, and I don't know. Mine is out of Arizona. I don't know where yours is based out of.
Honestly, I don't know.
And mine is from Arizona, and where it's based out of. But really, I don't really want. I told them I really didn't want the stipend, but they had to give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
More or less. And so my grandkids got lots of stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's going to become like a little bit of like mad money for our house.
Yeah, it's just a little mad money for us.
On infusion night, like I don't feel too badly about getting takeout that night because I'm kind of pooped and don't really feel like.
Yeah, and you are exhausted by the time you
just the experience of it.
Drive an hour.
Yeah,
and then you sat there in their hard chairs and do the testing. Then you get to go into the infusion room, and you get your infusion. Like you said, it takes about 90 minutes, unless you have one that keeps shutting off all the time. It might be a little longer.
Yeah.
And like the last time I went down, I went early. And I thought, I'm going to get out of here early. Got out at the same time I did before. Yeah. But I mean, I know the nurse very well that gives me the infusion. We're besties. We talk all the time, And I mean, I feel like I'm part of the family at that doctor's office now.
Yeah, similar. And I'm actually a little bit bummed. So the setup where I'm getting mine, initially I was on one side of the clinic where it was more of like an open space, an old school medicine ward where you had like just the curtains. And so I got to know a few other participants.
We're in one big room and it's everybody. And and we're and there's two of us only getting the trial. And it's so funny because one day this guy goes, "Why do you have a brown cover over your stuff?" And I said, "Because I'm special." Because I said, and then the nurse goes, "Yeah, she's special. All right." It's just one group and you never know who's going to be in there because they're in there for rheumatology, they're in there for everything that you can.
Any and every kind of, yeah.
Yeah. And then they have a special nurse that does our trial meds, the one I have is really ornery. So, I mean, we can joke and stuff and have a good time. And I'm getting to know other people that have other diseases.
Yeah.
I'm learning what they're on and all of their stuff. And it's, wow, maybe mine's not as bad as theirs. But
and just realizing like part of that idea of the network,
right? We
all have our journeys and they're individual. And also there's so many overlapping things in that experience of living with a chronic condition and getting treatments and navigating insurance and or clinical trials and all of this, that we have so much more in common than I think we realize.
Like I have Raynaud's now. It just appeared one day, I went to get stuff out of the freezer and I'm like, what is wrong with my hands? Now when I get in the shower, my feet turn like red, purple. I'm like, what is going on with me? And then I went to my rheumatologist and she kind of laughed because don't worry about it. It's not that bad. But, I'm like freaking out because
what is this going on?
Yeah, what is going on with me? And then I have some neuropathy in my hands and feet, but I have trouble sleeping because of that, not because of the Sjogren's part of it. What's the neuropathy of it? And it seems like it doesn't bother me through the day. It bothers me when I try to relax.
That's not an uncommon. I hear that more often than not. And similar for folks who have conditions that cause itching too. It's like the end of the day when like all the busyness of the day kind of
And you
fades
start
away.
itching.
And then when we're talking about it, I'm going to start itching.
I know. I'm glad I'm not the only one that has the itching. And
a lot of itch has a neurologic component to it. I mean, another area that it really needs to be looked at, and hopefully as the Institute grows, we'll be able to play a more active role in research in some way, shape, or form. But mast cells and small fiber nerves are working together at all times in determining are our bodies safe or not safe. And so it's the relationship between Sjogren's and mast cell issues has never been officially looked at outside of realizing and knowing that folks with Sjogren's do have higher rates of allergic rhinitis, so seasonal hay fever type allergies.
Food allergies too?
I don't know that that's been looked at. Certainly a lot of issues with IBS and digestion and that would maybe go into that gut permeability side of things, but I will look that up and get back to you on the food, specifically food allergies. It wouldn't surprise me.
It's so funny because I know I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis years ago. I don't think I had interstitial cystitis. Now that I look back at it, I have no symptoms. I think it was Sjogren's
that was showing up.
It was showing up. I really do, because I look back at it and I'm thinking, wow, because Sjogren's attacks anything fluid. What's your bladder have in it? Fluid. I sat there and I think of this stuff, and I did the elimination diet for IC interstitial cystitis. I drank water only. I lived on a strict diet. I was skinny thin. And then I slowly brought foods back. Now I'm heavy because now I can eat almost anything. I still do not eat oranges. I do not eat grapefruit. I don't eat a lot of citric acid.
Yeah.
That causes your blood to upset it.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's all, like you said, it's all related.
Yeah.
I feel.
Our bodies are the networks too. I mean, that's as I started my initial thought in kind of this theme of networks was really thinking about, okay, how can we have these bigger conversations? But gosh, it's the micro and the macro of it's a systemic disease. It's the networks within our bodies between our epithelial tissues that are in our exocrine glands that are secreting saliva and mucus and other things, digestive juices. It's our neurologic system, certainly the immune system. It's all of those networks that are working in concert together. I did a quick little search on that open evidence tab I had open. It hasn't really been evaluated on food allergy, but it does seem to have a higher prevalence, not surprisingly, of celiac and gluten issues. And they just mentioned that overall increase in prevalence of allergic disorders overall, drug allergies, skin and contact allergies, and sinus issues, not surprisingly. Well, Janet, this has been just thank you for your candor, for your vulnerability, for your openness in sharing your experiences. I know there are probably going to be a ton of questions in the comments below that maybe we can both try to address as we're able. And my hope is this really just stimulates some additional conversations. And
like, if you're scared to do a trial, don't be afraid. They're testing you for everything. Don't you feel that way when you go in there and they've got?
I mean, it is really bad headlines if something bad were to happen to you in a trial. So they want to prevent that from happening. There's a lot of kind of that quote unquote CYA, if you understand that.
When they came in with that day, the first time, my doctor says, don't worry. They're just testing you for everything. Just think about it. We're going to find it if there's something else. And I'm like, great.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. But when I first seen that, I was like,
gosh, yeah.
But
yeah,
it doesn't even bother me to watch them draw blood anymore.
Oh, I still can't watch.
You can't. It doesn't.
Now when they put it in,
I'll go, there's my arm. You pick. I can watch. There's some days that I might be a little queasy that I won't, but I usually watch them do it.
The irony that I can poke people with needles as part of my job, but I do not want to see myself poked. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see that too.
It hits a little differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can understand that because it's you. It's so.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, and I
can't wait to continue chatting. And like I said, I'm sure, although we're airing this towards the end of the summit, I'm sure that this is just going to continue the conversations in our discussion forums, and I look forward to just sparking the conversation more. So thank you.
It's going to be great. And you're welcome. And thank you for taking the idea.
Oh, yes. I should have said this off the bat. This session was Janet's idea. And I was like, that's brilliant. Let's do it.
I was just like, wow, what if?
So good.
I thought of you immediately. And I told you I meet with another group weekly, but it's going down. We're not going to do it anymore unless one of us picks it up. But I was telling them, I said, I sent her a message and they're all going, great. And then I didn't even know about it. And one of their ladies messaged me, this is what we were talking about.
Yes, and it was on my team's to-do list. I'm like, reach out to Jen. And they're like, where did she message you? I got to find her contact information. So that's what took a minute.
Funny because the girls contacted me. One of the girls in my group said, Janet, this is what we were talking about just 3 days ago. And I was like,
and that's when I went back to my messages and I was like, are you still okay? This was your idea. I'd love to have the conversation.
Yes.
So
I just thought we've got to get the word out there for these trials.
Yeah. It's the action piece, right? It's taking action. And it's one of the things that I felt kind of in a similar way. If I had the opportunity, I have so much privilege in all of this. And it was another way to contribute in one way, shape, or form. Yes.
I agree. And if we're advocating for everyone that has Sjogren's right now. So
let's go, team.
Yes.
Thank you, Janet. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the chats.
Sounds great.
Take care.
Take care.